Hello, everyone. When Cicely Tyson passed away in January 2021 at the age of 96, the world didn't just lose an actress. It lost a pioneer, a trailblazer, and a woman who redefined what it meant to be black, female, and powerful in Hollywood. Her passing left fans devastated, but what few people realized at first was that Cicely also left behind something far deeper than just a legacy of stunning performances. She left behind a lifetime of wisdom, spiritual strength, and yes, a fortune that told the story of both her immense success and her unwavering humility. Yet as details began to emerge about her estate, her will, and the quiet, meticulous way she arranged her affairs, even her closest loved ones were brought to tears. Not because of greed or drama, but because of the unbelievable grace with which she handled everything in life and death. The story of Cicely Tyson's fortune isn't one of scandal or excess. It's one of intention, empowerment, and love. And it begins long before Hollywood even knew her name. Born in Harlem in 1924 to devoutly religious Caribbean immigrants, Cicely's early life was marked by hardship and perseverance. Her mother, Theodosia, worked as a domestic servant, and her father, William, was a carpenter who barely scraped by. They didn't have much money, but what they did have was dignity, and that would become the foundation of Cicely's entire existence. When she began her career as a model in the 1940s, she was already defying expectations for black women in entertainment. But when she turned to acting in the 1950s, she quickly discovered that Hollywood had no place for women who refused to play maids, addicts, or victims. "I could not be part of that," she once said. "If I was going to represent my people, it had to be with honor." That decision, her choice to take fewer roles but make each one meaningful, would cost her financially in the short term, but earn her eternal respect in the long run. By the time Cicely Tyson became a household name with her Oscar-nominated performance in Sounder, 1972, she had already set herself apart as a woman of principle. She reportedly turned down dozens of roles that paid well but demeaned her identity, saying she'd rather starve than degrade her people. Her sense of self-worth was her currency, and it paid dividends that no paycheck could match. Her fame exploded after the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, the 1974 television movie that earned her 2 Emmy Awards and cemented her as a national treasure. Yet even as the awards, accolades, and offers poured in, Cicely lived simply. She didn't buy mansions or surround herself with luxury. She invested in property, education, and community. Friends recalled how she'd quietly help struggling artists, fund scholarships for young black students, and donate anonymously to charities that supported underprivileged children and single mothers. When Cicely Tyson's financial records were reviewed after her passing, people were astonished to learn how carefully she had built and protected her fortune. Despite working in an industry notorious for exploiting talent, she managed her career with a sharp eye and an even sharper heart. Reports estimate that, at the time of her death, Cicely's net worth was between $10 and $15 million, a number that reflects not just her acting income, but her real estate holdings, royalties, and book earnings. Her memoir, Just As I Am, which was released just days before her passing, became a bestseller, adding yet another layer to her financial legacy. But what truly made her loved ones emotional wasn't the size of her wealth. It was what she chose to do with it. Instead of simply dividing her assets among relatives, Cicely left behind a carefully designed plan that reflected her lifelong mission: to uplift, empower, and inspire. According to those close to her, a significant portion of her estate was designated for scholarships, arts programs, and cultural institutions that support young African American performers. She wanted to ensure that future generations of actors wouldn't have to make the same painful choices she did just to maintain dignity. In addition, she reportedly set up charitable trusts that would continue funding organizations she'd quietly supported during her lifetime, places like the Dance Theater of Harlem, the United Negro College Fund, and several church-based outreach programs. "She gave even when no one was watching," said a longtime friend. That was Cicely. She believed in planting seeds for trees she'd never sit under. Her family, who had long admired her humility and dedication, were reportedly moved to tears when they learned the full scope of her generosity. For Cicely, money was never a status symbol.
Those who knew her say she often reminded them, "We can't take any of it with us, but we can leave behind something that matters." Her final financial arrangements were the embodiment of that philosophy. Her home in Los Angeles, which she owned outright, was left to a combination of family and charitable entities, ensuring it would one day serve as a retreat for artists and thinkers of color. Her royalties from decades of film and television work were arranged to benefit educational programs for underprivileged youth. Even her personal possessions, her gowns, awards, and memorabilia, were cataloged for eventual donation to museums and archives preserving Black history. But perhaps the most personal and emotional part of her legacy was the private letter she left for her loved ones, which, according to insiders, reflected her deep spirituality and gratitude. In it, she reportedly wrote, "Do not weep for what I leave behind. Rejoice for what I gave to this life. Every tear I cried was an offering. Every role I played was a prayer." Those words, when shared with family members, reportedly brought them to tears. Not of sadness, but of awe. It wasn't just the fortune that moved them. It was the fact that Cicely Tyson had once again turned even her death into a lesson about grace and purpose. What makes Cicely's story so powerful is that her fortune wasn't built on greed or exploitation. It was built on patience, faith, and integrity. She was never the highest paid actress in Hollywood, but she was among the most respected. Every dollar she earned was a testament to her refusal to compromise, her courage to speak truth, and her deep understanding that value isn't measured by fame or wealth, but by the impact you leave on others. And when you look at her legacy today, the scholarships she funded, the young women she mentored, the countless people she inspired, you realize that her fortune wasn't just financial. It was spiritual, cultural, and emotional. In an industry that often chews people up and spits them out, Cicely Tyson lived and died on her own terms. She didn't just survive Hollywood, she transcended it. Her life's work became her inheritance to the world, and the tears her family shed when learning of her generosity were not tears of loss, but of profound gratitude. She showed them, and all of us, that the greatest wealth any human being can leave behind isn't gold or property. It's the love, dignity, and strength you pass on to others. Cicely Tyson's fortune was never about what she had. It was about who she was. And that's why, even in death, her light continues to shine, guiding generations to come with the same quiet power that defined her remarkable life. Thanks for watching.